And we are live. Hey, friends.
Woo!
Hey, dream catchers.
Hello.
Are you feeling worthy? Let me know in the comments how in this moment. So, whenever I do therapy, like Dr. Green always says, in this moment, from a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about whatever particular thing? And so, one of the ways, so let's do a worthiness check. Scale of one
Mm,
to 10, how worthy do you feel in this moment? And so I'm going to do a check-in and Jamie's going to do a check-in and then I'm going to introduce you to her, but I feel like it's a good way to open up. So okay, scale of 1 to 10, how worthy do I feel? I would say I've been feeling pretty good. I feel like a good solid 7 of worthiness in this moment. This morning maybe I was probably like a 4 or 5, but right now in this moment, talking to my friend Jamie, I feel like a solid 7. Jamie, what about you?
I'm coming in at a 9 today. But
Ooh.
let me say this,
Mhm.
most of my entire life, even after like, going from Denny's waitress to building $1 billion business in my living room, when it came to worthiness, most of my
Mm,
life, like I was real self-confident, but I actually didn't believe I was enough deep down
okay.
inside. So most of my life, I'm talking decades, it'd probably be a 1 or a 2. Mhm.
Wow.
Done a lot
Okay.
of work. I have done a lot of work.
Okay.
So can
Well,
I just say this? I am so
yes.
excited to be here with you. When you and I are together in person, either I'm laughing, crying, hugging you, having a revelation about life
Mhm.
or faith or any of it. And
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here and sharing this with each person right now who's joining us live. I believe there's no coincidences, there's no
I
accidents. If someone's
yes,
with us, they're meant to be here, something we're going to share today. So thank you
I
for
love
having
that.
me.
No, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so I'm seeing you guys share like where you are 6, 7, 5.5. Okay, someone said 100. So, yeah, let us know scale of 1 to 10. What number would you put 10 being the highest, one obviously being the lowest? How worthy do you feel in this moment? And so, I'm going to
Mm,
introduce you to Jamie really quickly. So, I met Jamie in person for the first time. We went to this conference called Author for Authors where it was like all of these authors that had done well with whatever, their most recent book or any book they had written. And we were just, I want to say it was maybe like 25, 30 of us. I'm not really good at like gauging numbers. And I'd never met Jamie in person, but of course I had heard about Jamie. I followed her on social. I just found Jamie to be really inspirational. And to meet her in person, I'm someone because I taught preschool for so long, I
mm,
have a really good gauge of like character and energy. And because instantly, you meet one of these little babies, and I know instantly when I'm like, oh my gosh, Jaheim's really sensitive. Oh my gosh, James is really stubborn. Oh my gosh, oh, Cora's gonna give me a run for my money. So I've gotten really good. And the feeling that came over me with Jamie was like, here is a sensitive, beautiful soul. Like that's
mm,
what my energy felt. And I just said, okay, this is a kindred spirit, which honestly doesn't happen very often. And
mm.
but like that's just the Jamie, like woman, Jamie Kern Lima. But Jamie is no stranger to success. I'm looking at her bio. She has written a New York Times bestseller. So what was your first book, Jamie? What was it called again?
Believe it. Yeah, which was
Believe It.
how to go from underestimated to unstoppable. So it was like my journey of learning to believe in myself. Whereas Worthy is the
Mhm.
playbook on how do you believe in you. Yes, it's called Believe It, the first one.
And it
Yeah.
was amazing. I listened to Believe It on Audible, which I highly recommend because Jamie
Mm,
reads it, and it was so inspirational. So, like, y'all know I love to read. And so it was so inspirational. So she has her New York Times
thank you.
bestseller. You might have seen Jamie guest teaching with Oprah Winfrey. Yes, I said lady, right? Or you might
Yep.
have known Jamie from selling her company, It Cosmetics, to L'Oreal for over $1 billion. Have you met somebody who sold a company for $1 billion? You know you haven't, because Jamie's my first. So now you get to know somebody in person. And she's not only that, what I love is that on top of all those amazing accomplishments, to me, probably one of the most beautiful things about Jamie, she is a mother of two. She is a wife, she's an investor, a speaker, a philanthropist, and bigger than all of that, Jamie is a good person. And so that's why I wanted to introduce her to y'all today. And so we're gonna talk through what it looks like to go from where you are, about how you feel about yourself, for those of you who are not at a 10 or 9 of worthiness, like how do we get there? And Jamie's amazing tool. So you already know. Let's do a little housekeeping. One, get your notebooks out. If you don't have a notebook, are you really a dream catcher? You're not serious about life. Go get the notebook. Tell your child, Go get mommy's notebook and pen from the other room. You know, that's kids are good for that. They got those good knees. Ask your partner, go run and get it. I'll give you 2 seconds to go get your notebook because you're going to get something inspirational. There's going to be so much and you're going to want to write it down. So that's 1, right? 2, this is your time. So I want you to like find a quiet space that you can listen. And last but not least, I'm going to keep reminding you to share this video while you're watching with someone. Tell, text, share, because the things you're going to learn, the things you're going to hear, the way you're going to connect, it's just going to be beyond what you can expect. We had someone on the other night, Lynette Kafani-Cox. She is one of my mentors. And Lynette said something so poignant that has been rolling around in my mind. And this is what she was talking about. Lynette said, so many of us are so stuck on how do we get there? And it's not the how as much as it is the who. That the way to go from where you are to where you want to be typically is through someone else, meaning someone who's had an experience beyond, beside, different than yours. And we have an incredible who in front of us. Like, do you understand? Like, this is what Lynette meant, that you don't have to figure it all out. You have Jamie right here. And so tag your friend, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your cousin, share this video because you really get an incredible opportunity to get in front of an amazing, amazing who. Okay. So Jamie, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm reading every single comment right now. And by the way, after this post, I'll still read every single comment because I love where people are at. I love what everyone's sharing in the comments. I see a lot of 7s, 6s, but I see a lot of people typing 2 and 4, right? And so I just want to say off the bat, like, we are in this together, and I am so grateful for y'all showing up just full, like soul first. Like, my prayer before us going live was like, God, help me show up soul first, not in my head, not anything about me, but like soul first. Because we are here, right? We are all here today, especially to go, what does it really look like to believe I'm worthy and to step into my self-worth? Because in our life, and I learned this the hard way after decades of literally doubting myself out of my own destiny so many times, because my self-doubt was so loud, that our self-worth, right? Our self-worth is our ceiling in so many areas of our life. And we think sometimes, oh, I just got to get more skills, or I got to get more experience. And sometimes those things are true. But if deep down inside we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, like whether it is of financial freedom, whether it is of, a healthy relationship, whether it is of prioritizing rest in our life, whatever it might be, our career goal, whatever, if we do not believe we are worthy of it deep down inside, it won't happen. And so, for so many of us in our lives, what I have learned, again, the hard way, this is decades of believing lies that lead to self-doubt and not understanding that our self-worth is our ceiling. But, when we learn to build our self-worth, it really changes everything, because in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And when we learn to build our self-worth, it impacts every single area of our life. So I'm just grateful for everyone showing up soul first, and the way you always show up, Tiffany. And it's going to be a fun talk right now.
It is. So I was going to ask Jamie a fun question. You guys can share in the comments too. So Jamie, when I was in school, I don't know, it might seem like a shocker, I was quite the chatterbox. So
no way.
So whenever I got my report card, it was always, but Tiffany talks too much. And it didn't matter where they put me, to the left, to the right, up, down, next to this one or that one, whoever's next to me, that's my bestie. So I'm curious, because now I talk for a living, and I'm curious, Jamie, like what teacher feedback did you used to get about your personality? And I'm curious to see like, how has that served you now and who you are now? So what was that kind of like, what did you used to get on your report card?
Well, 2 things come to mind. First, when I was a waitress at Denny's, long before I built a $1 billion business in my living room, when I was a waitress at Denny's, that was always the stuff I got written up for, was talking too much to customers. But here's the thing. The Denny's I worked at, the kitchen had all these operational issues, and they would take like an hour for pancakes to get out. So customers would leave. And so I was just trying to like get my tip money. I was like, so I learned how to talk to everyone. But I believe in life, our steps are ordered. Like I
Mhm.
really believe our steps are ordered.
Me too.
And what's wild about that experience is when I was working at the Denny's, I just remember going, oh, wow, customers are the pancakes are great, but if you're not getting them for an hour, like if your operations aren't right. And
Mm.
so, right. So many years later, when I started business in my living room and I want to prioritize all the fun stuff, like whatever, I was like, oh, I've got to get the unsexy stuff. I got to get the
Yes.
operations right, the
Yes.
foundation. And I
Yes.
had that lesson from Denny's, which is, I know our steps are ordered. But to answer your question, this might be surprising, but for anyone who is joining us right now who
Mhm.
thinks their past or some kind of label put on them or the label they put on themselves is some indication of their future potential or their possibility of success. My feedback in school, Tiffany, will prove that to be not true. So I was actually, in the high school yearbook where people are voted like most likely to succeed, all the
Mhm.
different things.
Mhm.
True story, I was voted biggest procrastinator. Biggest procrastinator in my high school yearbook.
No.
Yeah. And here's what's wild about that is it was true at the time.
Okay.
Like because deep down inside at a core level, I did not believe I was enough.
Mm.
Uh there was a lot of stuff in my life I didn't think I was worthy of. And like I talk about this in Worthy that we don't soar to level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. And so even though inherently like I knew how to get my assignments turned in and I knew I could get good grades on them, I'd procrastinate with stuff and yeah, all of that. With when it came to what I was capable of, I
Mm.
sabotaged a lot of it for a lot of my life because deep down inside, I didn't believe I was worthy of it. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, self worth, when we learn to build our self worth, I feel like it is the only way to
Mm.
become the person we're born to be or to step into the like who God created us to be in the full essence or the highest expression of ourselves. And so for me, it's been a long journey to get there. So I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question, but that's
Mm.
the real answer. Biggest procrastinator, which people would be confused by because they're like, oh, but you're known for business success, right? If anyone Googles me, that's what all the stories are is that my business success.
Yes.
But that is where it started. And that's why I love how you open this conversation and how you share so often with every single person blessed enough to be part of, all of your platforms you're on. You always talk about, yes, I'm budgetista, but also it's also so much of it is an inside job and a
Yes.
journey to your best life
Yes.
because that's the thing. That is the thing. Whether you're hoping for, to level up in finances or your career or any of the other things, I will like this is the thing. Our self-worth is our ceiling. Because if we do not believe we are worthy of that deep down inside, that is the one thing that has to come first
Yes.
for us for our hopes and dreams to come to pass, whether they're in finance or relationships or career or joy and just accepting ourselves for who we are and showing up authentically. That is the one thing, self-worth.
One thing I hope that you're taking away, y'all who are taking notes, is that I think sometimes, especially women, Jamie, they feel like they have to show up perfect in order for things
Mm,
to work out. And so
yes.
here you are saying, like, they said I was a procrastinator. I was told I talked too much. And yet, despite all of that, here you are, that the road to wherever you're trying to go, it's not going to be straight, and it doesn't mean just because you've had a detour that it's over for you. So I just hope
Mm-mm.
for you, y'all listening, that you can see in Jamie that she perfectly and perfectly got to where she is, and that it's
Mm,
not like mistakes are not the end all be all. They are necessary. They are necessary lessons along the journey. So you shared a little bit about your
mm,
story with us, but not everyone knows. Like, I mean, we were kind of alluding to the fact that you sold a business for $1 billion, but can you share a little bit about like your story with us so folks know, like,
yeah.
who is Jamie? How did she get here? And so they can understand why I decided to have you on.
Thank you for that. Yes, of course. And I'm seeing in the comments too, people saying like, oh, my boss saw fear in me and told me to look
Mm.
somewhere else. Or lots of comments, that was me and is still me in here. Jamie, what's your business? Okay. So here's what I want to share. Instead of just the highlight reel, Tiffany,
Mhm.
like this is your show. We're going to do the story behind the story.
Okay.
Because one thing I don't love is whenever I hear someone like kind of share their story, I'm like, okay, that's great, but what really happened, or how can I apply some of the lessons to your real life? And while people might Google and go, oh wow, because the headline is always Denny's waitress builds $1 billion business. The real story started in a season of setback in my life. So and it was years and years and years of rejections and literally teetering on bankruptcy and having a lot of people tell me that they didn't believe in my vision for the company. So just to preface this by saying, anyone right now who's joining us who feels like they're in a season of setback, or they feel like they're not getting the traction in their business or their idea or their dream or their pursuit of relationship, what I'm about to share, I hope, is for you. Because I thought, so just to back up for a second, I thought my whole life, like from the time I was a little girl, I would sit in my living room and I'd watch Oprah every single day, and like she was my hero. Like some people have Superman or Santa Claus. For me, it was Oprah. And I remember just watching her every day and thinking, one day I'm going to share other people's stories with the world. Like that's what I'm going to do. And when I would watch her and she would share her vulnerabilities, and it helped me feel less alone and more enough. And so I did all the jobs to try and get to that spot, from like pushing groceries in the grocery store, bagging groceries, selling popcorn at the swap meet, waitressing at Denny's, all the things. And I eventually got to what I thought was my dream job, which was sharing other people's stories with the world. And I was reporting and anchoring the news, and I had moved my way up markets. And then I was about to enter a huge season of self-doubt and setback in my life. And what I know now, Tiffany, is that what I believe in my core is that so often our setbacks are actually God's setups for what we're supposed to do next. But we don't always see it at the time, because setbacks usually aren't fun. But I have a hereditary skin condition called rosacea. And for me, it gets really bumpy and I get red bumps all over my cheeks. It's patchy and dry skin where my skin will kind of feel like sandpaper, gets across my forehead. And I knew I'd had this. I'd gone to dermatologists and tried all the prescriptions, and nothing would work. And I'd always been able to cover it up. And one day I was live anchoring the news, and I hear in my earpiece from the producer, there's something on your face. You need to wipe it off. You need to wipe it off. And I'm live, and so I can't talk back. And I remember at the commercial break, like glancing down in my compact and trying to cover it up. And then we're back live again, and I'm anchoring the news, and he's like, it's still there. It's still there. And I'm hearing my earpiece, it's still there. It's still there. And I knew what it was. The makeup was breaking up, and the redness was coming through, almost like the way desert clay cracks, and you can kind of see. And so that started me trying to find anything that would work. I tried all the different makeup lines at the time, and literally tried everything from the drugstore to pro lines to the department store. I could not find anything that worked. And I remember showing up for work, and I'd supposed to be like projecting joy, like talking to people. And I would literally be live thinking, am I going to get fired? Am I costing the station ratings right now? Are viewers changing the channel? So I was in this big season of self-doubt. And one day I got this moment, like this gut feeling, this kind of whisper that said like, okay, if you can't find anything that works for you, maybe you should figure out how to create a product. It's probably going to help a whole lot of other people too that can't find anything that works for you. So I had this whisper. For anyone who's had this kind of a gut feeling or a whisper, it usually comes in your gut, or, sometimes you pray and you hear it, or you just feel like a still small voice or intuition or a knowing. I got that feeling that was a knowing, but really fast. My head talked me right out of it. Like my knowing was like, wait a minute, should you launch a business? And my head was like, oh, but you got no money. You have no connections. You're not qualified. You don't know anyone in the beauty industry. And I sat in that place between me telling myself all the no's and me having a knowing. And what I know now, because later, by the way, when I finally launched the thing, it was years and years and years of no's of all the department stores and the beauty retailers that like I spent my Denny's tip money to buy a lipstick in one of their stores or whatever. I thought they would just be so about the my brand, and it was always no, 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 no forever. But all the while, even when I was getting these painful no's, like investors saying no one will buy makeup from images you're using, because I had this vision of using real women, every age, shape, size, skin tone, skin challenge, showing my rosacea and trying to kind of shift that definition of beauty in the beauty industry at the time, because at the time that was not being done, but everyone was saying it wouldn't work. And I sat in that place between, in this moment, deciding, am I going to launch the business? So for anyone right now who's like deciding if I go for it, deciding if you put yourself out there on the dating app, deciding if you write the book, deciding if you share your art with the world, like whatever it might be, if you have that knowing inside you're supposed to do it, but your head will talk you out of it all day long with all the no's. People around you, even sometimes loving, well-intended people, you share your, Trent Shelton always says, be careful sharing your vision with people who aren't visionaries. Be careful sharing your dream with people who are not dreamers, because sometimes we have that knowing we're supposed to take the risk. We're supposed to put our ideas or our art or anything out there or launch the business. And then we tell the people around us and they're like, oh, but you're not qualified. Oh, but right. They see it through the lens of their own fear. So I sat in that place between all the no's and my knowing for the longest time. And I decided to take the leap to trust my knowing and launch this business with close to no money in my living room. My husband and I went all in, a company called It Cosmetics. And from the day we both quit our dream jobs, by the way, because I thought I was in my dream job, but sometimes knowing when to let go of a dream matters as much as knowing when to go after one. And I just couldn't shake that knowing. But then from the moment that I started the company, because here's the thing, it's so easy to look at the outcome. Oh, wow, it became $1 billion business. In 2016, L'Oreal bought this company I started in my living room for $1.2 billion cash. And they made me the first woman to hold a CEO title in their 107-year history of any brand. But
I need you to say that again, because Jamie's saying it like that just happens every day. No. In 2016, what happened, Jamie?
So in 2016, L'Oreal paid $1.2 billion cash for the business I started in my living room. And they made me the first woman to hold a CEO title in their 107-year history. But here's the part that here's why this matters, is because, and I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, but for years, all I heard from so many people was, no, your company's never going to make it. No, you're not welcome in our store. I mean, it was no after no. So from the moment we launched the business, it was over 3 years of not even being able to pay myself a penny. So we were surviving on 1 to 2 orders a day on our website. And it was a lot of retailers that I was so tempted to kind of put on a pedestal, but they were all telling me, women won't, they would always say this, Tiffany, they say, women won't buy makeup from images like the ones you're using. Because I would show my bare face rosacea, or I'd show all different types of women and models. And they would always say these words, you have to use, they'll say women will only buy makeup from images of unattainable aspiration, meaning overly photoshopped stuff that you can't even look like that anyway because it's not real. And again, I'm hearing all those no's, but in my gut, and every time I would get still or I'd pray about it, and I'd be like, God, is my intuition wrong? Because I keep feeling that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this feels authentic to who I am, but nobody seems to get it. And even experts are saying no, which means basically they don't think I'll make the money, is what that means. And it is so hard to make the decision in our lives, especially when things are not going our way, to trust our own knowing, our own intuition, to believe we are worthy of trusting ourselves, and to believe we're worthy of doing things authentically to us. And what is wild is there were so many times, hundreds and hundreds of no's along this journey. I remember, I don't know if you know QVC, which is a live television.
There's someone was just saying, someone like, I remember her from QVC. Stephanie said, I never held a mascara wand the same since. I don't know if you shared.
I
So
love
yes.
that. Yeah, so QVC. So, and this, just sharing this too and this is not about me. This is for someone who needs to hear this tonight, because I believe if someone is with you and me right now, is for a reason.
Mhm.
It's for a reason, and a word that's maybe just for them. But QVC, which is the live television shopping channel, they, oh my gosh, Tiffany, when all the retail stores were telling me no, and that women won't buy makeup from, like images that aren't photoshopped or whatever, I had this vision. Well, what if we get on QVC? It's live. You cannot Photoshop live TV, at least not
Mhm.
yet. And I'm like, I can prove the product works on, like, I had this vision. Every single time I'd send product after product, QVC would always say no, no after no after no after no. One day I finally got the head guy, who's the head of all of QVC Beauty. He built this multi-billion-dollar beauty division, Alan Burke, on the phone. And I was like, it's going to be a yes. It's going to be a yes. My life's going to be changed. And he says to me, all of our buyers have been getting your samples. And I wanted to call you personally and directly and let you know that, thank you for loving QVC. I've met with all of our buyers, and it's unanimous. It is a no. You are not the right fit for QVC or for our customers. And I was like, oh, but Alan, and tears started streaming down my face as pacing around our office, which was our living room. I'm like, oh, but Alan, I am the right fit. And I tried to like pitch myself again. And he thanked me for loving QVC, but said it's a no.
Mm.
And I'll never forget that day. Like I literally was under my covers crying, because I was like, I don't know how the business is going to make it. I remember waking up the next morning and being like, hoping it was a dream, hoping the bad news was a dream. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was day after day. And I remember writing in my journal, know your why, then fly, girl, fly. And
Mm.
reading those words, because I knew what I was doing, why I was doing what I was
Yeah.
doing. And I really wanted to shift the beauty industry. And anyhow, fast forward, and here's the thing is, to quote Jay-Z, he says, the genius thing we did was we didn't give up. And
Mm.
sometimes if you have a knowing, right? If you have a knowing that you're supposed to be doing the thing and you're supposed to show up authentically as who you are. And, I feel like learning to trust your own knowing over all the no's around you, it will single-handedly change your relationships, your goals and dreams, your career, your entire life. Tuning in and trusting that knowing.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. And we kept going, and we eventually got one shot. This was a long time after that phone call. After years of hearing no, and you're not the right fit from QVC, we got one shot. We got a yes, and we got one shot for me to go live in a 10-minute window on QVC and either hit their sales goal or not come back. And Tiffany, I learned one of the greatest lessons in my life when it comes to authenticity, for anyone who's joining us right now, about deciding, like, because a lot of us believe the lie, if I'm me, I
Mhm.
won't be loved.
Mhm.
If I'm the real me, I won't be loved. And a lot of us feel like we've got to show up as our representative.
Mhm.
And we think, if I'm the representative, the role, the people pleaser, the role that I need to play, in my house, in my marriage, in my friendships, in my job, that's the only way that I'll get love and belonging, or acceptance. And it is the opposite. It's one of the biggest reasons why so many of us are so lonely, because
Yeah.
it is impossible to have a true connection with another human being, and if you show up inauthentically, because you're putting this barrier of disconnection between you and them. And
Yes.
so we show up as who we think people want us to be, but it's impossible to have a true authentic connection with another friend, with a partner, with your customers, with
Mhm.
your community online, right? Unless you truly show up as who you are. And so even though it's scary, because we believe that lie, if I'm me, I won't be loved, it is
Yeah.
the only way to have true connection, and also succeed in your business and everything else. And
Mhm.
why I'm sharing that real quickly is just because this is what happened when we got that one shot and that 10-minute window. We were still only selling a few orders a day on our website. Like, we were barely staying alive as a
Mhm.
business. we had at any point 2 to 3 weeks of enough money to still stay alive and not go bankrupt. So living in that spot, for anyone who's been in a spot like that, is a little stressful. And we got this one shot on QVC, and what it meant is, even though I was only selling 1 to 2 orders a day, it meant I had to hit their sales goal in that window, which meant I had to somehow sell over 6,000 units of a product to hit their sales or not come back. Because every minute of airtime, you have to hit the same sales goals as Apple iPhone or, any other brand that goes on if they're going to give you their airtime. And so long story short, we got an SBA loan. 22 banks said no. The 23rd bank, California Bank and Trust, gave us an SBA loan to cover the amount of money we'd have to spend to make all that product, get it through regulatory compliance, ship it in. And then I found out we wouldn't be paid for it unless it sold. And if it didn't sell, we'd have to take it all back, which means for sure we'd be out of business. So everything was on the line. And here's the biggest life lesson I learned, especially for someone who is struggling to be all of who they are and to live authentically and show up authentically. The loan covered the 6,000 units we had to make plus a little bit extra. We use that little bit extra to hire third-party consultants that are amazing. They help a lot of people sell their product on TV and in retail stores. And they all said the same thing to me. They said, okay, if you're going to actually be the 1 in a million that hits that sales goal on QVC and actually gets invited back, here's what you need to do. And they all told me the same thing. Use this type of model to demonstrate your product, which was all super young, look like they're 12, flawless skin, same skin tone. I'm like, okay, I get that that's what works for a lot of people traditionally, but I'm like, what if in our one shot in this 10 minutes live, what if I put models of every age? I'm going to put someone in their 80s. What if I put someone dealing with hyperpigmentation, every size, shape, skin tone, skin challenge? What if I take my own makeup off on live TV and I can prove the product works? And they were mortified. And here's the thing, they wanted me to win. They were giving me the best advice that they knew how. And so 1 week before the big airing, I flew out to QVC in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I sat in this rental car in the parking lot, literally staring at the front of the building. And I knew, Tiffany, that the next time I walked in that building, my whole life would be changed for the better, or I would be bankrupt. I knew one or the other was going to happen. And I felt so much stress and pressure. And I was not nervous for TV, but it felt like the whole weight of everything was on me. And what I struggled with was, do I show up authentically? Do I do it the way I created this business to do it? Because it has not been working so far. Everyone it has not been working so far. Do I do what they're telling me to do, these third-party consultants? And maybe if it works, I'll make some money and not go bankrupt. Then I'll do it my way. I had all those thoughts sitting in this rental car, praying and crying every single day for a week, because I knew I got one shot and everything came down to that one shot. And I remember this moment in the car. Well, first of all, I had seen on an Oprah episode when she wanted the color purple. She was obsessing. Do you remember this moment?
Yeah.
And she's running around the racetrack singing,
She
I
sings,
surrender all.
I surrender all.
Yes. So I started doing that in the car, hoping that will help. I was trying everything. And then I remember this moment where I know you cannot fake authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. And every time, and the big reason why I wrote the book Worthy is because every time we show up inauthentically, right, to please someone else, to play the role we think we need to play, we are telling ourselves we are unworthy of being who we truly are. We are chipping away at our own self-worth, one people-pleasing moment after another. And I remember this moment in the car where these words hit me when I was debating, what do? Do I show up with my own vision that has not been working so far for years and stay authentic to why I did this and who I am? Or do I show up and play the role that's making other people supposed money? And it was this moment, and these words hit me in the car when I was praying that said, while authenticity alone doesn't automatically guarantee success, inauthenticity
Mhm.
guarantees failure
Mhm.
every time, over time. And those words hit me really hard. And so I knew what I had to do, but I was scared. And I remember walking into the building to get our one shot. And
Mhm.
uh, I was so nervous. I had on two pairs of Spanx, not because I cared how I looked, but I did not, I was sweating so much that like I
Mm.
didn't want to sweat through my dress on national TV. And I remember walking out into the studio, uh, and I remember the moment just like praying right before the show and being like, you are worthy of literally being who you authentically are. And I
Okay.
would rather do that and fall flat on my face
Mhm.
than live inauthentically, show up as my representative and live in regret, wondering what if. And so I remember walking to the studio and there's this giant clock on the ground
Mhm.
that was set at 10 minutes. And I knew I had one shot and 10 minutes to either hit those sales goals or not come back and basically be out of business. And then, Tiffany, I learned that that you're not guaranteed 10 minutes. After all of
Okay.
that, I learned you're not guaranteed 10 minutes. If you go live and a minute or two in, you're not hitting sales numbers,
Oh my
you think you have
goodness.
8 minutes left, but all of a sudden your clock jumps to 1 minute and you're done.
Oh
So
my
so I learned that, and I remember the moment that the 10-minute clock, the on air light went on, and the 10-minute clock was like 9:59, 9:58, and I remember I remember my bare face bright red before shot came up, and I remember trying to do a demonstration on my wrist with other concealers that crease and showing that ours doesn't when I bend it. But I
Okay.
was so nervous that my hand's like this. And the
Oh.
host was like, thank you, sugar. And she pushed it under the podium. And I remember walking over to all the models and just like every age and shape and size and skin tone and skin
Oh.
challenge and like calling them beautiful and meaning it.
Mm.
And I remember we were about 8 minutes in and I didn't know like how we were doing, but I knew I wasn't cut yet. And
Mhm.
then we got down to the 1 minute mark, and the host says, the deep shade's almost gone, the tan shade's almost sold out. And it was the 10-minute mark. This giant sold out sign came up across the screen.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I start crying on national television. They cut from me and went to like Dyson vacuum or something. And then I remember my husband comes running through the double doors of the QVC studio. I thought he's going to hug me because I'm like, "Ah!" And he comes over and he's like, he looks at me and he's like, we're not going bankrupt. And I was like, ah! And I'm like, real women have spoken.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yes.
stop.
Yes.
That
Yes.
one airing led to 5 that year,
Oh.
101 the next year. And then
Mm.
for 8 years straight, I did over 250 live shows a year on QVC. And here's what's wild. We built the biggest beauty brand in QVC's history. And it is right
Wow.
now. Yeah, it is right now to this day. And the only reason I share that is because 4 years, 4 years, they
Oh.
said, like everyone else did, by the way, they said, you're not the right fit for us or for our customers. And
Mm.
I don't know who's in the season of setback tonight or
Mm.
who right or who feels like someone is not seeing their value or who feels like there's opposition coming against them. Uh, but what I'm here to say, it is no indication of your potential. It is no
Mm.
indication of the potential of your idea or your manuscript or your art or your
Yeah.
dream or your personality or your potential or the future potential of your business. You cannot let anyone else's doubt about you somehow turn into doubt in your own head. Like
Ah,
you are
Jamie.
worthy of showing up authentically as who you are in this world. And part of why I wrote Worthy, Tiffany, is because like there's a whole chapter called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First.
Oh,
You're not crazy, you're just first.
I'm writing that
There's a
down.
whole poem. The book has, so there's 23 chapters and one poem. I can read an excerpt if you want of that poem, but let me just say for the person who needs to hear this tonight, you're not crazy, you're just first. And
Mm.
here's the thing that is so true about that. If you're wondering, am I first? What am I first in? Oh, you're first. Here's why. Uh, every single one of us, like there has never been another you before, and there will never be another you again. Like
Mm.
the way our creator made us, every single one of us has our own unique fingerprints, our own unique tongue print, our own unique heartbeat, our own unique
Mm.
iris of our eyes. No one has experienced the emotions you have, right? At the moments you have, or has the life experience you have. No one out there sees art or beauty in this world the way you do. There has never been another you before. So if you are one of the brave ones willing to show up in this world as who you authentically are, do not be surprised if not everyone gets it. They've never seen another you before. Don't be surprised if you put your business idea or your dream or your goals or your hearts out there in the world and people aren't responsive or don't think it's going to work out. There's not proof that it will, because it's never happened before. If you are one of the brave ones who is going to do anything, right? Because some people, we tell ourselves a lie. Oh, my idea's already been done. I have nothing special to offer. All that kind of, if you show up in your business, in your dreams, in your goals, in your hopes, in your friendships, in your relationships as who you authentically are, there's never been another you before. You are first. You are first. And do not be surprised if not everyone gets it, right? Like do not, because here's what I've learned, Tiffany. Most people will cheer you on after you make it.
Yes.
After you make it. And then they tell everyone, I always knew. I always knew. I believed in her.
That's my
from the
cousin.
beginning. Right? Yes. And so many times I had to tell myself, even when I was a little kid, because my family would call me, like, I'd have these big ideas, like, how could we end world hunger? And they're like, or to travel the world, right? No one in my family had ever gone to college. And I had all these dreams, and a lot of people around me were so loving, and I would not change a thing, but they always kind of made me feel like I was odd or strange or different or crazy. And one day I had this moment where I realized I'm not crazy. I'm just first. First ever me.
Type
And
first
you
in the comments.
First, if you are first, right?
Yes.
You are the first ever you. And the things that we think are odd or strange or different or quirky or wrong with us are actually the things most right with us, right? And so you are so worthy of being who you are authentically, and that is the only way to step into all of who you are. It's the only way. It's the only way to have true connection, right? It's the only way to step in your power, is to be all and exactly who you are. And maybe not everyone's going to get it. And those are just not your people. And that is okay. That is okay. But when you realize you're not crazy, you're just first. Like, it feels like joy and it tastes like freedom. It tastes like freedom.
Jamie, I don't know you're preaching on today. Like the way my notebook feels like joy. Type that in the comments. First of all, I hope you see in the comments, the girls are like, she is preaching on today. I don't know if you're, feels like joy, tastes like freedom. Crystal said you brought tears to her eyes because she saw you, that QVC, your first QVC. She's like, I remember. And so she's like, I was there. She said, I'm crying because to see you from there to here. Feels like joy, tastes like freedom. I'm just writing this down because this is like so good. And something else that you said, Jamie, to me that really moved me is that, like, I feel like I want a tattoo. I don't even have tattoos, but I want to tattoo this one thing you said. You said sometimes we are in between the know and the knowing. How if you are in between, somebody just type between, because sometimes it's like, literally, when I was starting my business, Jamie, I remember I was sleeping on my sister's couch. And so my Nigerian name, I'm Nigerian, my Igbo name, I'm Igbo Nigerian, is Adochi, which means God's blessing. And I remember God had already told me, hey, I have this thing set aside for you. And I was like, okay, but I'm on my sister's couch, sir. You told me, I remember I was actually going back and forth. I was like, you told me it was going to work. I'm broke. I'm 30. I'm on her couch. And all I kept hearing was this inner voice say, Adochi, I have given you everything you need to succeed. That was it. As much as I said whatever. And that was the knowing. But I was between the no, which is like the couch says otherwise. My family says otherwise. And the knowing, which is this inner voice is telling me I have everything I need to succeed. So I just want you to understand that if you are between the no and the knowing, then just know that you continue to put one foot in front of the other and obedient to the knowing, and eventually the no's will fall away. I mean, Jamie is proof of that. I am proof of that. It is probably the hardest place to be, that no and knowing. Oh, you just, I didn't even know that, like, I felt that space, but I didn't have the words for it. You just gave amazing words to it. So is this, Jamie, why you wrote this book? To help, like, just even what you've shared, like, if you are, let's just take a break. Cause I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, if you have been blessed by all you've heard so far, imagine what this book has to offer you. Like,
Mm.
I have been posting like the link below, but worthybook.com is not hard to remember. Like, so if you are needing kind of like this breakthrough, there is no coincidence. I always say that you are here on something brought you here. Something bigger than
Mm.
you said, be here tonight, watching, listening. There's a message for you. And so, like, I have 2 copies of the book, and no, you can't have one because I'm gonna give one to my sister. But like Worthy, like, so is this why you wrote Worthy? Because I remember when I
Mm.
met you, you said to me, Tiffany, I am not writing Worthy so I can make a bunch of money. That, like,
Yeah.
in fact, aren't you donating like proceeds to this book?
Yeah, I'm donating 100% of the proceeds. Yeah, yeah. This is just, when you feel in life like you're in alignment with your assignment. Like, this is why
Mhm.
you are here. I feel
Yeah.
like I have struggled with self-doubt so long. There are so many things I doubted myself out of.
Mm,
And my journey has been like, how do you unlearn those lies that
mm,
lead to self-doubt and ignite the truths that wake up worthiness? So the book Worthy, yeah, it's all about, how to believe you're enough, because
mm.
literally as we're talking right now, 80% of women do not believe they're enough.
Yeah.
75% of female executives deal with imposter syndrome. 91% of girls and women don't love their bodies. When you believe you are not enough as who you are, it is innately as who you are. It is a lie.
Yeah.
And it is a lie that has cost all of us who believe it so much. Like, this book started almost as a divine download when I realized, wait a minute, what has self doubt already cost me in my life? And for everyone in the chat, when you think about that, what does self doubt already cost you in your life? And for
Mm,
me, the answer was way too much. And even when I was, accomplishing a lot in business, I was accomplishing a lot that made me self confident. But even in the achievement of all that, I still didn't feel like I was enough. And I was still
mm.
actually sabotaging other areas of my life. And it was actually after my lifelong dream happened, 39 years after I sat in my living room as a little girl, I met my superhero. I met Oprah.
Mm.
And, which was like a lifelong dream come true that I did not know I was about to sabotage, because underneath it all, I didn't believe I was worthy of it. And
Okay.
it's a long story, but I ended up meeting her at an event. One in a billion happened. And then one in a billion happened where I sent an email to her and actually got to her, and she actually read it. And then one in a billion happened where she invited me over to lunch at her house. And I
That's
had a 3 hour, yeah, it sounds good until you hear what I did. Uh, this is what low self worth will, and remember, and I go deep in this book. So also really quick, this book is over 20 tools on how do you build self-worth.
okay.
And we go lie by lie into the lies that lead to self-doubt,
Mm,
and then how to literally tee them up and knock them down and ignite the truths that wake up worthiness. So we dive into lies like my weight determines my worth, and I should wait
mm.
on my weight to live my best life. We dive into the lies, I'm an imposter and not enough on my own. The
Okay.
lie that if I am me, I won't be loved, right?
Mm,
The lie, I don't deserve better. There's so many lies that we believe. The lie you and I talked about it. If I show up authentically, uh, uh, I won't be loved. The lie that I need to please them in order to love me, which is for so many
mm,
people pleasers. There's so many lies in here. If I stand out, I get kicked out. The lie, I
mm,
don't have anything special to offer.
mm,
There's a whole chapter in a poem, You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. But
mhm.
really quickly, after my whole life dreaming of meeting Oprah, I finally, all this happens. She invites me to her house for lunch, and now I was very self-confident at the time. But
Mhm.
what I didn't know is most of us think we need more self-confidence. What we actually need is more self-worth, and they're very different. And I go
Okay.
deep into that in the book. I
Okay.
was really confident by the things I was achieving and my skills and my attributes, and self-confidence is so important. It's so important, but it's very different than self-worth. And I show up at Oprah's house
Oh,
for
wow.
lunch, and we have a 3 hour lunch. It was so good, better than I could have ever imagined. I leave her house, and she is so kind and so generous, and she gives me her cell phone number and says, "You can call me anytime. Call me
Mm,
anytime." Tiffany, from that second she gave me her number, I did not call her for 4 years. 4 years. And in the 4-year window, I told myself stories like, oh, I just need, I need to think of the perfect thing to say. Then I'm going to call her. Or, oh, everyone probably wants something from her. They want a new car. They want something. I'm going to prove I don't need anything. Like, I told myself all these stories until 4 years later, I realized the real reason I had not called her was because deep down inside, I did not believe I was worthy of being her friend. And when we do not believe we are worthy of something, whether it is launching the business, again, reaching financial freedom, having a healthy, loving relationship, putting our art and our ideas out in the world, when we do not believe we are worthy of something, we will either sabotage it, we'll stay stuck and not go for it and not know why, right? So that's what I did. While I was very confident and felt I was worthy in certain areas of my life and business, deep down inside, I didn't believe I was worthy of great friendship, of someone showing up for me, and I didn't believe I was enough. And so that is what low self-worth will do. The day I realized that, 4 years after she gave me her cell number, that is the moment I picked up the phone and called her. And that's also the moment that I became obsessed with studying self-worth and how to build it. And by the way, that was only 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago.
Wow.
3 years ago. And so when you open this conversation by saying Jamie's taught alongside Oprah, right? I taught the Life You Want class in her Oprah Daily community on resilience. That almost didn't happen, right? What if I had never learned to believe I was worthy of picking up the phone? Like, I came so close to doubting myself out of that too. And when I think about everyone who is with you and me right now, and it's just like, what are you dimming your light out of and doubting yourself out of in your life right now? And that is what low self-worth can do. And low self-worth will keep us stuck. It has us hitting ceilings, sabotaging things, right? Or best case, getting a goal and still not feeling like something's missing, like it's not enough and like we're not enough. So then we keep achieving more, not realizing all these goals we're getting are so important to build our confidence, which is really, really important. But if we do not have self-worth, whatever goal you achieve, whether you land on the moon or win the Olympic gold medal or get the thing you always hope for, the 6-pack abs, the goal weight, the job title, whatever it is, you still arrive at it taking you with you.
Yes.
Which is why if you have underlying self-worth issues like I've had most of my life, you arrive at the goal feeling like you're still not enough and like it's not enough.
Yeah.
So building self-worth is for me, it's the one thing I believe through and through. It's the one thing that impacts every area of your life, that can change everything from your relationships to your joy, to showing up authentically, to all of it, to believing you're worthy of your goals and dreams. I say in the book that in life and our relationships and our business and our goals and our hopes and our dreams, we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. It's truly the one
it's
thing.
like the perfect day so if you're watching live, this is Valentine's Day. The book comes out when, Jamie?
A couple days. Oh my gosh. We're a couple days away. It's so funny because it's been like 3 years in the making, and it comes out on Tuesday, a couple days.
So February, what day is that? February 20th? Is that
20th. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vivian said, worthy is my Valentine's Day gift to myself. I don't know that there's a better, Valentine's Day is supposed to be a day of love, but like sometimes we forget that love includes you too. And so if you are like, like a friend of mine told myself today, I bought myself candy and flowers because I don't have to wait for someone to gift me, tokens of love, because I love myself. And so if you're like, I didn't get myself anything for Valentine's Day, I don't know that there's a better gift than the gift of worthiness and a tool to help you to crack open the things you need to do to achieve that. So if you are pre-ordering or just ordering, depending when you're watching, type pre-order in the comments. And like if you've got a daughter, a son, a cousin, I have one for me, right? And you see one in the background because I have one For I have one sister in particular, I have four sisters, one sister in particular that I'm gonna give that to, because I'm like,
Mm,
no, this is truly a gift of love. I hope you understand that.
yeah.
Like giving yourself the gift to access to knowing. And even now, honestly, Jamie, this has never happened before. Usually, I have folks come on. My phone is blowing up with people, my friends who are in here texting me. Like, Tiffany, this is the best thing ever. Tiffany, this is amazing. Literally, I was like, what's happening? Y'all never text me. Like, literally, my friend Carrie wrote,
Mm,
Tiffany, this live you're doing tonight, girl, God bless you. God
mm.
bless you. She's like, I'm not gonna read all her business, but she was just like, this
It's
is like, she said, God is using you and Jamie. Girl, you better not
mm,
quit. Because at one point I was tired and overworked and overwhelmed, and I thought maybe I'll sit down. And so, like,
mm,
this is just like, I hope you understand this is why, this is what we do here, right? This is soul work,
mm,
that I knew a long time ago as a little girl, I was called to teach and to connect. This
mm,
is what God whispered to me when I was a little girl. And I have been trying to stay obedient to that calling, which is, Tiffany, you are here to teach and connect, to teach the things that you
mm,
know, and the things that you don't know. You know someone who does. You are there to bring them to the people that you know. Like, there is
mm,
something that Jamie can bring to you that I cannot. And that's okay. I'm not meant to know all the things. I'm just meant to know Jamie. That's it. I'm
mm.
just meant to know Jamie and bring her here so you can have access. And so,
And
and as
all of us are meant to know you because we're all blessed by you. Every one of us is meant to know you.
that's
Mhm,
why people are
Tiffany.
hilarious. Look at Judine. Can we schedule a follow up? Y'all are a mess. Let Jamie live. She got no, but
Uh,
honestly, like, I mean, I already knew that you were amazing, and you have just
mm,
touched the hearts of all those who are watching, because every one of us, no matter what we have or what we look like or what we weigh or what we make, or everyone has struggled at some point. I suspect, with worthiness. And so to hear you, who's accomplished so much, speak so candidly and vulnerably about the place that you've come from, how
mm,
worthiness has played a role in your life, and how you've been able to break through it, and not only just that, but to teach it, and to bless us with this book, Worthy. I mean,
mm.
I just, you get to say, some of you get to say, I saw Jamie when she's on QVC, Now some of you get to say, I
Amazing.
saw Jamie when she was talking to the Budgetnista, and Worthy was just coming out. And so I see so
Mm.
many of you guys have wrote pre-order. If you're pre-ordering, go ahead and type that in the comments that you're pre-ordering. Because I was like, Jamie's going to read your comments after. So it's always nice for people to kind of
I
go through,
am. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And we did, it's funny. I sell nothing on my site, whatever. I'm donating all the proceeds. We did a bunch of free gifts for anyone who pre-orders at worthybook.com. You can grab your
Awesome.
free gifts. And it's funny, Tiffany, I was just thinking about for you saying, for us opening our whole conversation where I'm like, I was labeled biggest procrastinator. You're probably thinking, so welcome everyone. We've got the biggest procrastinator on. You're going to learn a lot tonight. But I just wanted to keep it so real because
Yeah.
I just think so many of us, there's a whole chapter in Worthy, by the way, called When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Entire Life. So
Mm.
many of us have let past labels, past rejections, past failures, something someone else said about us, something, and we've like had it on repeat or stick to us like a label. And we've somehow believed that that's, gonna, by the way, when we let rejections and failures hurt us, they shake our confidence. But when we let
Mm.
them take root at an identity level to the point where we don't think, oh, I was rejected or oh, I failed, we think I'm a reject, I'm a failure.
Mm.
That is when it can chip away at our self-worth. And
Yeah.
I go in a lot about how to do that because whether it was voted biggest procrastinator or a lot of other things that happened in my life, including mistakes I made,
Yeah.
regrets I have, and how to not let the shame of those things stick to me forever, and how to
Yeah.
really reframe them. And I go through like a whole process in the chapter about rejection and failure because a lot of us, like the fear of rejection and failure keeps us stuck. And I go into the 4 R's on just how do you reveal the meaning you're attaching to rejection and failure? How do you redefine that and assign a new meaning to it? And literally change your relationship with rejection and failure because I had to do that in that process of building at cosmetics. I had to learn, okay, I've gotten hundreds of rejections. How do I make sure I don't think I am a reject and a
Mm.
failure? And also, how do I embrace it and assign a meaning to it that's not disempowering? And then I don't know why this is on my heart right now. I hope it's okay to share it. But
Yeah.
in that chapter, there's the 4 R's that you go through. And the third, which is like revealing your current definition of rejection. It's a long framework that's actually really awesome if you apply it to your life, but then also redefining rejection so that you're able to like become fearless about it. But my favorite one, just to share quickly, is I talk about how to revisit
Mm,
past rejections and failures and reveal what meaning you're attaching to them. Because a lot
mm,
of us have had, our business not work out, or a relationship not work out, or we applied for the job, we wanted it so bad, and the person didn't see our value. Or
mm,
we've had simple things that feel like rejection, like friends didn't invite us to the coffee. We're like,
mhm,
why wasn't I invited? Like these things happen to us all the time. And I talk about how to revisit past rejections, and
mm,
also when they happen, how to reveal the meaning we're attaching to them and then redefine that meaning. And I
mm,
talk about like how to build this toolbox of definitions, not just that sound good, but that you believe to be true in your soul about them. And part of how I built $1 billion business or got through so many rejections is the same tools I apply right now to this day, where I had
okay.
this toolbox where instead of like getting rejected and my old default was like, oh, yep, there's proof again, I'm not enough. Like I started building a toolbox of new definitions, like, oh, rejection's God's protection. Or,
Mm,
rejection means I'm putting in the reps, I'm one step closer. Or
mm,
rejection means I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. Like this rejection is a victory. It's a reminder I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. But really quick, when I look at past rejections and failures, for anyone maybe tonight who's letting one of those take root in their spirit, or just like attached to them like lead balloons on their wings when they're trying to fly in life, or like a stuck label they think is permanent, I love to revisit past rejections that sometimes we don't realize we're hanging on to them, or past
okay.
failures, and just acknowledge like, what meaning am I assigning to that past
Mm,
rejection and failure? And really think about the meaning we're giving to it, and then redefine the meaning we're attaching to it with a new empowering meaning. And two quick examples. Do we have time for me to share this
mm,
really
mm,
fast?
mm,
I want to
mm.
make sure. You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
Just for someone who needs to hear it tonight, two quick examples. Like I was adopted, and most of my life, I felt like my parents worked a lot. So I was home alone watching Oprah. But most of my life, I felt, kind of abandoned. And I told myself stories. I didn't find out I was adopted till my late 20s, which was a big
Okay.
surprise. But I'd always told myself I was unwanted or abandoned. And it showed up in a lot of ways. It showed up in me staying in unhealthy, toxic relationships with people that hurt me for far too long. I would not leave because I didn't want to be
Mm,
abandoned. Later, as a boss in cosmetics, over 1,000 employees, one of my weaknesses, even though I think I did a lot right, I did some things wrong. And one of my weaknesses was I wouldn't fire people soon enough if they really deserved it, because I didn't want
mm,
to abandon them. And when I did this process that I talk about in the book, and redefined it for me in a way I believed it, like I was like, oh, wait, God chose me to be like, my birth parents were together one time ever, then never again. Like I was
mm,
chosen to be conceived. And then my birth mom, her life would have been way easier if she did not have me. But she
mm.
chose to bring me, and then my adopted parents chose to raise me. I'm like, I am not rejected. I am chosen.
Yes.
And I believe that to my core, and it has shifted how I show up in relationships, etc. But the one I want to share, just for anyone who needs to hear this tonight, who has had someone not see their value, and you've let it somehow translate into you think you're not valuable, or you've
Mm,
had somebody who just pulled the rug out from underneath you, or crushed your heart, or a friend who betrayed your trust, like any of these rejections that so many of us face. I love to just revisit them, reveal what meaning am I attaching, and then reassign a new definition that I believe to be true. So my favorite one that I use almost daily, Tiffany, in my life, like
mhm,
almost daily, this is a habit for me now. I will literally, when I get rejected, when I don't get invited, my feelings are hurt, whatever it is, the person I want to be friends with is not into me, whatever it is, I will literally imagine God saying to me, oh, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because
mm,
they're not assigned to your destiny. And
mm.
I will believe that to my core. I believe God will hide our value from people who are not assigned to our destiny. And these definitions are what help me not let rejection and failure take root at an identity level, that somehow I think I'm a reject, I'm a failure. And it helps me redefine them. And I still got a lot of issues, but fear of rejection and failure is not one of them. I am pretty fearless with it. So anyways, I go through how to do that in chapter 2 of Worthy. That was almost its own book called When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Life. But I didn't want to wait 2.5 years. So
Yes.
it's because you have to wait 2.5 more years to launch another book. So it's now chapter 2 in Worthy.
So I just want to, Jamie, I want to share with you, Crystal Farmer said, I came in here. So we're going to end with the question we started with, which from 1 to 10, what level of worthiness do you feel? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Crystal said, I came in here feeling and typed, feeling a 1, but typed a 2. I'm leaving here feeling a 10. I just want you to know that, like, your gift is making so much room for you. She said, thank you, Jamie, for your story, your testimony. God used you tonight. Stephanie says, I feel 20 feet tall right now. I just hope you understand, like, it's just, I mean, and so I would love, as we close out, for folks. So one, so many of you guys I know have ordered and pre-ordered. Let me know if you have in the comments. Just type pre-order, because it's great for Jamie to see. It's great for me to see. Just type pre-order, or if you're going to pre-order or order, depending on when you're watching this video, type that in the comments. And I'm going to ask you the question that I started with in the beginning. I said, from 1 to 10, what number of worthiness do you feel? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. In this moment, I'm not talking about your whole life and when you were 5. In this moment, at this time, with Jamie and I right here with you, what number do you feel? And is it higher or lower than you felt before? Jamie, I have to say, you have brought me to a 9. Where I'm just feeling like, I'm feeling like a 7. I was feeling pretty solid, but I'm like, wow, look at the work that I get to do. You know what? Forget that 9. We're at a 10, baby. Because like, look at the work I get to do. Look at the connections I get to create. This is I've given you everything you need to succeed. That voice was like, I told you, girl. So impatient, And so look at the numbers we're getting. Jamie, remember in the beginning, it was a lot of 5s and 6s. I'm seeing 10s
and a
and
lot of
8s
1s and 2s.
Yes, that's what we were seeing in the beginning. We're not seeing that now.
Well, wait till y'all get the book, because this, like, we go deep in here. And I just, and I want to show you one thing, by the way. I was so excited about this, Tiffany. For anyone who remembers old school library cards, I have this vision, like, no girl, no woman, no person left behind, and knowing they're worthy, right? So when you get your book, after you read all the 20 tools on building self-worth, there is an old school library card in the back. And
so you can pass it on to someone. Yes. You literally put your, I remember back in high school, you would get to see who had your book the year before.
Yes.
So I love that. So this is a book that's meant to be passed along. You put your name and your date in here. After you finish it, you breathe a sigh of relief, and you pass it on to someone who needs it. I love that. Oh my,
I just have that vision. Because here's the thing, all of us can think of somebody who, like, oh my gosh, if they just believed in, if they just knew how great they were, if they just believed they were worthy, like, I just think of the businesses that'll be launched, like the unhealthy relationships, the generational cycles that'll end, like the ideas that will be shared, the art that will be offered to the world. Like, that is what happens when we learn to believe we're worthy of it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jamie. I just love you, honestly.
Thank you so much. I
So
love you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead,
I was
Jamie.
just going to say, you embody everything in this book. For every person who is doubting, oh, if I'm me, I won't be loved, or should I show up as the, authentically, like, you look at Tiffany, you look at people who connect at such a profound level, who move humanity forward, right? Tonight, we're talking about Tiffany, we're talking about Oprah. It's because they're fully congruent and fully aligned with who they authentically are, right? And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because you embody all of this. But my hope and prayer for everyone tonight, and I love that people are going from 1s and 2s to leveling up their worthiness. My hope and prayer is not that when you get this book, this is not about, oh, let me learn all these things that I got to figure. It's like, oh no, let me unlearn all the lies that lead to self-doubt, ignite the truths that wake up worthiness, and actually embrace your authenticity, embrace all of who you are. like all of who you are. I believe to my core, the reason we all connect so deeply with you is that you fully, Tiffany, you're who you are. Like you're who you, the girl that was in in class chatting away, that everyone loves, that who sits by you as your best friend. That is who you are. And maybe a person right now feels like they're introverted and they're this. It doesn't matter. Really quick, I know we're wrapping, but just in case someone needs this proof tonight, after I sat there for over 8 years in the QVC Green Room, I watched tens of thousands of entrepreneurs go live on air. Very few ever make it back more than once. And after watching this for years, I was like, what is it that those ones that make it, that build big businesses, that build lasting relationships with customers, what is it that they all have in common? The very few that make it. It was not that they have the most famous product or the best deal of the day or any of that. The only thing they had in common was that they were the same off air as they were on air selling their product, for better or worse. Some are introverted, some are like really into their technology, some are like over the top and boisterous. It didn't matter how they were, introverted, extroverted, didn't matter. It was that you cannot fake authenticity. And it was the ones that showed up as who they truly were, because that is the only way to have true human connection, whether it's customers or anyone else. And so I just want to honor you, by the way, and celebrate you, because one of the millions of reasons why we all love you so much is that it's like you're in such alignment that we all feel it. You can feel when someone is not, and you are, and it's what makes you one of the most powerful communicators that we have the blessing of knowing in our lives. So just want to thank you for you, and also just for your heart and your friendship and the way you bless so many people. Each
one. Give me the cry. I'm like, oh, don't cry, Tiffany. I'm literally like, because everybody knows I'm a big cry. Thank you so much, honestly, Jamie.
I've cried with you before.
Yes,
in Tennessee. Yeah. Tonight we're preaching, but I cried, which I didn't know that was going to happen. But you know what? We're
exactly
all
what was needed.
Live together.
So just thank you again, Jamie. You have just moved us just so many steps closer to worthiness and feeling it. And so worthybook.com, it's not just a book for you, it's for those that you care and love. If you are watching on Valentine's Day, I don't know that there's a better book to represent a gift to yourself, because you are truly are worthy. And thank you, Jamie, so much. Yeah, this has been awesome, y'all. So Jamie's going to read the comments after. You, even as we hang up, continue to write beautiful, kind words, because even though we hang up, we can still see your comments. So I just love for the guests that we have to know how appreciative we are. They spend time with us and pour into us. So, all right, y'all. Bye.